Yeah, there's two guys that you got to put an asterisk by in this thing, and that's Carson Palmer and Sam Bradford, because people really like them, but they're coming off injuries, and a lot of people just downgraded Sam because he can never stay healthy. So when you're asking a GM, hey, give me a tier number for these quarterbacks, it's hard for them to give Sam Bradford a 2 when they don't even remember the last time he played. So people love Sam coming out, and there's no question if he were healthy, he'd probably still be on the Rams. So you have to factor that in. I think if we're going to say healthy, people are going to take Sam Bradford consistently over taking Nick Foles.
Nick Foles obviously had a very good record here in Philadelphia, and he was very successful. The stats, then last year he kind of dipped off a little bit, and the stats weren't there as much. Is there a wait-and-see kind of feel in what he's going to do in St. Louis, or do people think that he has a legitimate NFL starting quarterback? Some people think that if he's not in Chip Kelly's offense, that he's a backup. Is that what you hear when you talk to people?
Not necessarily quite that harsh. I think the way people view it is that there wasn't necessarily much differentiation between Mark Sanchez and Nick Foles. And you say, well, Sanchez is a backup. Yeah, but he could start for a number of teams in the league. Just look at the bottom part of the quarterback tiers project. Heck, Andy Dalton, the Browns would give up a first-round pick for him, right? And he's an average quarterback. So I think what the Eagles were doing was just saying, hey, look, we basically have Foles, we have Sanchez. We don't see a big differentiation. We might even like Mark better. So let's at least bring into the equation someone in Bradford who has a higher ceiling if all the stars align. I think that's all they were doing, and that's why I kind of like the move for both teams. The Rams with a great defense, and they want to run the ball with a top 10 running back that they just picked. They just need a guy who's average to play 16 games. That will be an upgrade from the collection of backups they've had on the field. And for the Eagles, they know they have a baseline in Mark Sanchez, which isn't great but isn't bad. So why not bring in Bradford, who could be better than both Sanchez and Foles if he's healthy?
Yeah, I know Mike Sando's with us, NFL Insider. He had a panel of 35 insiders rank the different quarterbacks, and Bradford, obviously, as you mentioned, did not play the last 2 seasons, so really hard to put him. But him being at 23, what does that tell you about what people think about him?
Well, it just tells you that everyone's waiting to see if he's healthy. But here's a typical conversation you have with people in the league. Okay, Sam Bradford, they go, God, I love that guy coming out. I don't know. They didn't help him much in St. Louis. He didn't play that great, and he's been hurt. So you know what? No, I want to say he's a 2 if he's healthy, but we got to make him a 4. That's how it goes. So really, it's a placeholder spot for him. It wouldn't be fair to go higher because he hasn't played enough to earn it. But also, no one said anything bad about him other than he's not on the field.
Right. So when you say 2, they want to make him a 2, but they make him a 4. You're talking about the tiers?
The tiers, yeah. I would give people a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 options. So basically, a 1 is the best and 5 is the worst. And the way it slides basically is you're asking yourself this question with every quarterback: how much do we have to help this guy to win? And so if you feel like you have Aaron Rodgers, you don't have to have a top 5 defense every year, or you don't have to have a great running back. You can run the offense through him, and by doing that, you're going to be a good team. Now, of course, if you get good on defense and have a running back too, then you're going to be even better. But if you have Andy Dalton or Alex Smith and a bottom 5 defense without a running game, you're not going to be nearly as good. And that's how you decide what tier the guy goes into.
Mike Sando, NFL Insider, ESPN.com, ranked all the quarterbacks. Who's a guy that people are down on that, the perception is that he's, better than he is?
Well, definitely people – I thought going into this 2 years ago, I thought Matt Ryan – I did it last year and this year. I thought Matt Ryan would come in a little higher. It's not that he's come in bad, but there's really almost nobody – puts him up at the very top. And I think he's really good, but there's something that's been missing there, And then 2 extreme guys, I think, the most negative reactions, like the sour face you get from somebody is when you mention Jay Cutler or Robert Griffin III. There's just not only do people not like how they play, but they don't like just their basically how they can carry themselves, how they talk about the position, their body language or whatever. Those guys rub people the wrong way.
Robert Griffin III is an interesting one because, I mean, this is a team that has not had a lot of success. He takes them to the playoffs in the first year. Then he gets hurt, changes coaches, and here he is. Are people just so down on him that they think that first year he can never get back to?
Yeah, because, with the injury, people don't think that running the type of offense that really made him outstanding is realistic. You know, when you watch, like, other mobile quarterbacks run, like when Russell Wilson runs, when he gets hit, he's the one in control deciding how much he gets hit. When Robert Griffin III gets hit, his legs go flying in 8 different directions, and you're cringing, and you don't want to see the replay because you're afraid his knee went sideways, you know. And so people don't see that as necessarily something he can do. And then they really know coming out of Baylor that it's really tough to make the transition into a traditional pro-style offense, which is what Jay Gruden wants to do now. And then on top of it, people think that when Robert Griffin looks in the mirror, you know, as one guy said to me, he sees more Peyton Manning than a guy who needs to figure it out, you know, and that's a perception that he hasn't done anything to dispel.
Mike, let's go all the way to the bottom of the list, and Geno Smith ranked 32nd. Were you surprised by that? Not so surprised? I mean, he was a guy who many thought could have been the number 1 overall pick in the draft just 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he's at 32 because I would, as far as the negative feedback on guys, like it felt to me that Matt Castle, people were less enthused about him. That people were like, God, is he really starting? That you got a lot of that, and yet not that he was way better. I mean, he was right down there with him, but I just didn't feel like the comments on Geno Smith were as negative as the ranking wound up being. And one of the criticisms in his defense really was of the offense they ran. You know, people just couldn't figure out why they didn't seem to have kind of a base offense to fall back on. One guy said they ran every play in the history of football. And when you watched them early last year, at least when I did, that was true. They just ran a lot of almost gimmicky stuff. And does that mean they had no confidence in Geno Smith's talent and thought they had to do that? Or were they not doing what you got to do with a young guy, which is give him something he can fall back on when the chips are down?
Mike, what were the thoughts on Eli Manning? He's an interesting guy for me. I'd love to hear what the guys you surveyed said about him. Yep.
Well, it's funny, I'll do it in the context of last year, because last year he made it into the second tier, but people it was a little reluctant. People were like, man, he has been so tough lately, but they gave him his due, got a couple championships. He's obviously played well at times. And then after this last season, I think people felt much better about giving him a 2, and the people who had really watched him would be surprised if he didn't have a really good year. His year was surprisingly good last year. He was kind of in a situation, like Matt Ryan has been in, where the quarterback's playing pretty well, but they don't have enough things around him to get the 1-loss record, and I think that was definitely the case. He played good enough for that team to win. They just weren't good enough on defense and elsewhere.
Mike, it seems that people are down on Kaepernick, too, who got a pretty big contract.
They are, now someone asked me if they let him go, would there be a market for him? I said there'd be 10 teams lining up right now. I mean, so it is a relative thing. And I also would point out, he had 19 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. It wasn't like he threw 25 interceptions. So if that's the floor for him, I think there's still some optimism. But what it comes down to with a lot of these quarterbacks and the evaluators and the coaches is to really give you the full respect. They want you to show them that, hey, when your scrambling's taken away, can you drop back to pass and be the reason your team wins throwing the ball? Can you do that consistently? And people do not feel like Kaepernick is accurate enough or has enough variation on his passes. He throws the ball really hard or has enough of a feel type of a game to beat them that way. Now, he still may go out and have a good game, and he may rush for 150 yards on you, but in the end, that isn't always what people measure the quarterbacks on, because they think that can be taken away and it'll diminish over time. They want to see a beat him. Kaepernick can do that.
What do they say about Wilson? Because he's another guy that, if they don't have Marshawn Lynch in that defense, I am very interested in what people around the league about Russell Wilson.
He's the most debated guy in the whole rankings.
Wow.
I talked to 35 guys, 11 a different type of one, but you can't argue what they were. Got there, they had a top defense. They had Marshawn Lynch, and they couldn't even go 500. Now they're a championship team. You have to give them his due. That's one line of thinking. Then there were 23 guys who put him in the second tier, and some of them felt like he can't go higher than that because they don't ask him to throw enough. They don't need him to throw enough. They don't need to score enough points to even evaluate he can do it the way the top-tiered guys do. And then there was one guy who stubbornly stood here and said, look, he would have real problems if they had an average defense. So I think, Ben Roethlisberger's a tiny guy here. I think career. He won championship, but they were never known for running the ball. And now he went into the number one tier this year from the top of the second tier because they didn't have a good defense, because he was throwing it 608 times. That's how many attempts he had, and he was awesome. So, you almost can't fault Russell Wilson for not doing what he hasn't been asked to do. But until he does it, you're not going to necessarily just have everyone give him the benefit of the doubt either.
Good stuff. Mike Sando, NFL Insider, over at ESPN.com, Insider section. Check out the full list of where your favorite quarterback ranked. The last guy I'll ask you on is Peyton Manning, where some people think, the time has come, that the end is almost here for him. What do people think about Manning right now?
Yeah, he got 20 votes in the top tier, and some of those were like, I'm doing this out of respect, or make it the lowest possible kind of one. 15 in the twos, which was a really big shift from the past. And, there's a couple of ways to look at it. You could say he was injured late last season, but some of the people I talked to in the league felt like that was an organizational decision to take the ball out of his hands a little bit late in the year. And the move to Gary Kubiak is further confirmation by the Broncos, who, by the way, took $4 million off of his salary, that we've seen the end of the time where it's all Peyton and everything's in his hands every play, and he's in the shotgun every play, running the show the way he has forever. There are people who think that's just not practical for him anymore, and that he can't do it over the course of a full season, even if he's a one early. Hey, to really be a one, we got to count on you in the cold weather late in the season, when your 39-year-old body may not be able to do it. And everyone thinks his arm strength is terrible, and that he's only overcomes it because he's so smart and can anticipate. But he doesn't have as many great weapons as he's had either, so we'll see how it works without Julius Thomas.
Good piece. Really good research by you, getting all those guys to comment. Enjoyed reading it and having you on here, Mike.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.